Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Q&A edition of Optimal Relationships Daily, episode 1351. I'm your host, Greg Audino. Really glad to have you all here today, and thank you so much for spending some of your weekend with me, assuming you're listening in real time, of course. You know I love Saturdays because I love taking your questions, and this week's is coming from a listener who's been experiencing a bit of conflict with her parents of late. I'm going to let her tell the tale, though. So let's jump right into this question and answer, see what we can do to help out, and start optimizing your life. I love my parents, but lately I've been arguing with them a lot. Backstory, I'm 25, working part-time and living with them. They're always on my back about me getting a full-time job so I can afford to move out, no matter how much I tell them that there are no jobs out there and that renting is crazy expensive. Obviously, I'd want to move out, but it's not that easy. It's not like I'm not working at all. I've had my job for a while now. I know that they do a lot for me, but a lot of people my age are still living at home these days, and I wish they were more patient about it. Okay, Asker, thanks a lot for sending this one in. I appreciate it. Definitely a good question to explore, rather than just sitting and stewing with it by yourself. I'm not sure who else you've talked to about it, but if there is this stalemate between you and your parents and the discussion hasn't left your house, then trying it on for size with someone else like this could be a great way of sparking progress and hopefully finding a compromise between you and your parents. And I think they'd feel the same. So in this question, I'm really glad that you've made the effort to share your side and express your feelings and concerns, but you definitely spent the majority of it coming to your own defenses, and that's all right. I'll delve a little bit further into that later. But first, I wonder what you might make of your parents' side of the story. Maybe they've articulated the feelings attached to them wanting you to pursue a full-time job, or maybe they've just barked at you to go out and get one. But either way, let's spend some time doing some thinking about what's underneath all of this for them. How might they be seeing all this? You know, I think it's great that you acknowledge that they do a lot for you and that there's love there. So let's keep that in mind and let it predicate some reframing here. Maybe they aren't trying to bully you. Maybe they're just worried about you. Maybe they don't see you as a failure. Maybe they really believe that you can succeed even if they've never said it, and they want to see you take steps towards succeeding. Maybe it's not that they don't like having you around. Maybe they just want to see you cultivate your own life. And look, maybe there is some frustration on their part too. Who knows? But couldn't you feel frustrated if your child that you've loved and nurtured doesn't trust themselves to leave the nest as we all eventually do? You might even start to put your own parenting in question in the face of something like that. Again, maybe. Ultimately, whether you're a 25-year-old in your shoes or a 25-year-old phenom who started like a multi-million-dollar company or anywhere in between, as an adult who cares for their parents, you want to start considering their needs the way that they've considered yours. And to supplement that, you want to start contributing to and respecting those needs the same way that they've contributed to and respected yours. And this is what it means to have a healthy adult relationship with anyone, including your parents. Your parents are still figuring life out in their own way. And this is an opportunity to be cognizant of that and help them out the way that they've helped you. And it's not to say that you've committed some type of crime or failed or are hopeless if you're still living at home, but the longer you're at home, the more the parent-child dynamic is being reinforced, and thus the harder it is to see yourself growing up and the fact that the rest of society sees you as being on equal footing with your parents and fellow adults. So again, let's be mindful of what their needs might be, respect their needs, and consider how you can help them meet their needs in a way that doesn't compromise your own. And you've mentioned that you'd want to move out ideally, so don't contradict yourself now by saying that continuing to live with them and not get a full-time job is a need of yours. As a matter of fact, let's take the focus off the end result of getting a job or moving out for a second. How can you make efforts towards these things that ensures both you and your parents that you're doing your due diligence? Your level of confidence, your parents' level of confidence, and the relationship that you share are all likely to benefit if these efforts are obvious. Are you at least applying places? Are you sharpening your resume? Are you furthering your education? Are you budgeting, volunteering, looking for roommates to find an affordable living situation? At the end of the day, these are the types of building blocks that are necessary for starting your own life. And there's a big difference between not getting results quickly and not working on them at all. I understand waiting, for rent prices to go down and for more jobs to open up, but that's what everyone's waiting for. And if all you're doing is waiting, then what's happening in the shadows is that you're disempowering yourself and ultimately avoiding this transition into adulthood, making a shield out of the facts that the economy or job market is rough and that many others are still living at home. That has nothing to do with the effort that you're putting in and recognizing what's necessary to improve both your relationship with your parents and your relationship with yourself. And I have a sneaking suspicion that there wouldn't be the same friction between you and your parents if they saw you really trying. So now we arrive at the crux of this whole thing, it seems. Forget about wanting your parents to be more patient and rent being expensive or, full-time jobs being limited. Whether or not those things are true, they're still all separate from what you're doing. And if you're not doing anything, not putting effort towards those building blocks, aside from a stagnant part-time position, why might that be? Why aren't you doing more? And look, you are welcome to feel whatever feelings are coming up as I ask that. But it's important for you to know that I'm not shaming you. Yeah, it can be really overwhelming to make all this work. You might be scared. You might not feel you have what it takes. You might not feel you have support. And you might feel like the weight, just gets heavier with each passing year. Those are all perfectly normal feelings. But those feelings don't necessarily have anything to do with your ability to adapt and confront these challenges head on, even if you feel you've never done so before. So if that's the place you're in, then how can you cater to yourself inside and out? On the inside, how can you get more comfortable with these feelings and realize that you're not doomed just because you have them? Is it talking to a therapist? Is it talking to a trusted friend or family member who won't judge you? And then on the outside, how can you take action slowly and carefully in spite of these feelings, not waiting for them to pass before striking? Maybe it's 3 job applications this week, 4 next week, and 5 the week after that. Maybe it's setting up a meeting with a career counselor. Maybe it's starting a separate account to put money away and save. Consider ways to make it easy on yourself now, yet build progress and momentum in the right direction. I promise you're capable of doing it. I'm not trying to dismiss the struggle you're going through when I tell you that there are countless others who have been in your shoes and countless others who are currently in your shoes. If you listen to the show a lot, you know I like to avoid the plateau pieces of advice as much as I possibly can. But there is one thing that rings true here and feels applicable. The hardest part of this is just getting started and making that first move. It only gets easier from there. And many thanks to the asker for sending this question in. I really hope you found it helpful. Boiled down, we want our relationships to be reciprocal, so long as that reciprocity doesn't obstruct our own values. And that can be particularly difficult with family history behind us, especially with parents. As for many, we are so familiar with the pacing of them looking after us and us not necessarily considering their needs and how these needs often have our best interests in mind as well. So everyone, try to keep that in mind no matter the relationship and observe the many ways that doing so helps you grow. And as always, if you have a question you'd like to submit to the show, you can email it to me at advice@oldpodcast.com. You'll definitely hear back from me, and I would be more than happy to offer some support. That's going to do it for this one, though, friends. Have a great rest of your Saturday. Behave yourselves, and I'll see you again tomorrow for some narration. That's where your optimal life awaits.